AI, and the man behind Chat Gpt.
Yes.
The driver of the AI revolution. Please give a big Hope Global Fourm welcome to Mr. Sam Altman.
A lot. A lot.
I talked to you 3 Thursdays ago at 5 o'clock and everything was fine. What the heck happened? So, you are the definition of rainbows on the final show. You cannot have a rainbow in that store first. I mean, when you're doing good work, the universe sort of just folds in behind you. And I believe that you're trying to do really good work. And all of our conversations have confirmed over and over to me that you know what you know and what you don't know, you're curious about. And on all the other issues, you actually care enough to go to somebody who may know. And this interesting interaction that you and me, and all of you are, I guess, doing this for the first time. I believe it's about the first time you've done a public appearance in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So we're honored to have you here. And Sam thinks about everything. So I'm honored that we're honored to have you here. He's pitching for the underserved as an asset. So Sam and I had many conversations, and we had a meeting in San Francisco where he showed me a preview of what would become Chat Gpt, and we had a conversation about Silicon Valley leaders. And I told him that I thought most of them were geniuses with a blind spot called people, and which didn't take away from their genius, by the way. And I encouraged him to, as he sort of introduced this technology, which by the way, at that moment, I didn't really understand everything about it. I really didn't. I sort of knew, but I didn't. And I encourage you to do a community tour as you went on your other tour. And I got a call back. I don't think Sam's going to be able to do the community tour, do it later. I said, I think that's a mistake. I get this call from you at the Milken conference, at Michael Milken's conference, and it was close to midnight my time. I think we were on the same time zone. And you said, I have to be at the White House in a couple of days. I don't want to go to the White House if I can't then come to your house. I want to come to Atlanta and speak to the underserved, to leaders from community, to understand what their concerns are, to give them the respect that they deserve. Can we do that? Yes. Now, the difficult we do immediately, the impossible takes just a little longer. I had no idea how I was going to pull together a meeting. I mean, you were in the White House. They could do whatever they want. 28 seconds. It's like, can you do a meeting in Atlanta in 2 days? Yes. Hang up the phone, turn the shades, and go, I have no idea how I'm going to pull this off.
So it was great.
It was good. I liked it.
Yeah.
We were sweating. So I called the president of Clark Atlanta, Dr. French, and yes, we held a meeting in Clark Atlanta, got some leaders together. Martin Luther King III, all these people, Ambassador Young were there. Sandy Gupta, I believe, was here. Dr. Sandy Gupta was here somewhere. And we had a closed-door meeting with you and the community. Dr. Helen Gale, who's here, President Spellman, all these heroes and sheroes. And I will tell you, it was only then that it absolutely clicked. That was the most inspiring and the most terrifying meeting I've ever had in my entire life. Completely terrifying, because it was obvious that everything was going to change. Like that. And we went from the horse and buggy to the automobile between 1850 1950 and about 1910. We had about 60 years to get used to the idea. But there still was challenges and problems, and social conflict. We're going to go to AI, in my opinion, at least the first version of it, in between 2 and 6 years, where a lot of what we know to be normal will become a new norm. And I decided to be hopeful about it. Because one, it's coming whether you like it or not.
Right.
And I believe you to be one at a time, get in front of the crowd, and make it like a parade. The second thing is, it wasn't a mistake.
That's why I
Is
think
Ambassador was here some way, you say coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. The Sam called me, and we have this connection, and you came to the White House to Atlanta, and we started talking about how to make this available to, accessible to, empowering to underserved communities. Cannot be an accident. And I don't think there's been any other leader in the history of tech, and I would consider you the new Steve Jobs, actually.
yeah.
When you spoke to me like that, if you didn't, you're not the humble guy I know you to be, but I still do believe that. I believe you're having that kind of impact. And I want you to carry it lightly, as I know you will. You want to say that?
Yeah.
But as we make this transition, I've decided that I wanted to be on the side of the angels, to find a way to make this a force for good, and to bring people along in this process. Is that also your dream?
Yeah, and I really think it will be. I feel so much better about how the AI future is going to unfold now than I did even a year ago, certainly 5 years ago. But watching what the world is doing with Chat Gpt, the way people are using these new tools to architect the future, bring new value to each other, sort of be able to do more, be happier, learn more, get better advice. I wasn't quite sure how this was going to go, to be honest. But seeing how people are using it to level up themselves, their communities, the companies they can create, the ideas they have, it seems pretty great. Obviously, there will be difficult challenges we'll have to navigate, but I really do believe that if you put great tools in people's hands, they will build amazing things for all of us. And the speed with which that's happening, since we've released Chat Gpt and other people have released great products too, that's going to be exciting.
And as we look at the promise of it, I mean, the possibility of curing diseases in the next 20 years. Let's talk a little bit about that. The possibility of having a doctor in the middle of a rural area in Africa who has the same technological advantages as Emory University's, entire unit might have. That's part of promise, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, think about what it means if everybody on Earth can get better healthcare, best healthcare anyone can get. If everybody on Earth can get if every kid can get a better education than the sort of like richest, most privileged kid today. Like, we can't even imagine what that's going to be like.
Sure, kids, hopefully.
I mean, I hope that every kid born today will be smarter and more well educated than any of us in this room. I think that. I think you can see the glimpses of that now with the way students are learning Chat GPT, primitive, and wonderful it is. So, you can pick anything else: financial inclusion, education, entertainment, even the ability for everybody to be able to create programs. This is going to change a lot of things, and what it means to put this in everybody's pocket, if everybody gets this like super helpful assistant to do anything they need. It's a different world for sure, but I think a much better one in many ways.
So some of the advantages are obvious. Some of them we have I think some of these things are just going to blow our minds.
Totally. Well, it's funny how quickly we can. I think this is actually great. I think this is a wonderful thing about humanity and humans. How quickly we can go from having our minds blown to saying like, yeah, of course. Like, what do you mean my phone didn't used to be smart? I remember seeing a photo, like a video once of this is like right after iPhones came out, of a baby that the parents put a magazine in front of her, and she was going like this because the idea that she couldn't like pinch to zoom on a device was just like, didn't make sense. And to everybody else at the time, they were like, how did this happen so fast? And now, in a few years, like kids who are just growing up, they will never have known a time where computers couldn't understand, where AI wasn't a thing. And we're all just going to get used to this right away, and it'll blow our minds for a little bit of time. Chat Gpt blew the world's mind for 2 weeks. But I think that's good. I think that actually says something really good about it.
I don't know. I saw on CNBC last week that that ChatGPT was actually the #1 most trending whatever app still.
Yeah, but people like expect it. Now if it doesn't, ChatGPT went down maybe like a month ago for a while, like hours, and people were just saying like, I can't believe it. Like this is so unacceptable. Like, and it's like, it was only like 10 months ago. You didn't have heard this thing. You didn't think I was going to happen. So but I think it's great.
Yeah, it's like having a genius assistant in your pocket.
It's not a genius yet, but it will be. I mean, in a few more years, it will be.
So now let's flip to the problems, the risks, which are everywhere. But from my situation, my concern, this is dealing with poor and struggling minority communities, people, black and white, with a high school education. If you're in a retail job, done. You're in at least done for that. You're in a fast food. I know you guys go to a fast food restaurant. They've been sneaking this in the upward. The last few years, you go there and there's now a little tablet there, and you put your order in. And you used to go to a grocery store, it was all clerks. Now half of the lines are self-checkout. This is moving you through robotics, through some sense of automation. And I'm concerned that if we don't be intentional about educating and retraining a whole generation of everybody, that we won't give people a sense of purpose and belonging and make them visible for the new economy. And one thing I like about you is you have IQ and EQ, and you seem to get in there. So what do we do? This is a problem for me. This is just one of the obvious threats. Tens of millions of jobs that may become obsolete in an instant.
So that may happen, and I think it's worth being very honest about it. I think though it'll happen differently than we think. I think I was very afraid for a while the way this was going to work was like AI just started doing every job, and it went from the grocery store checkout clerks to sort of like doctors to just everything to one. But what seems to be happening, what I think will happen more than I originally thought, is this will be a tool for people in many cases. It will totally change some jobs, but in many cases, this is something that will just change the way people do their jobs in the same way that mobile phones did, the internet before that, computers before that. We adapt and we find new, better ways to work. And that's sort of like, that is the rollout of progress. Like that's been going on for a super long time with one technology revolution after another. Now, you're not supposed to say this time is different, but it does feel to me that this time is different. And it's a little scary for sure. But I think human ingenuity, creativity, desire to be useful to each other, to like play silly status games, whatever you want to call it, that is so strong, we are so good, we are so creative, we will find new things to do. Most of our jobs today just weren't jobs that existed 500 years ago in any way. And
or even 50 years.
Or even 50 years ago, certainly. And the future is going to be like that too. Our kids and grandkids and great-grandkids, they're going to do different things. And again, I think that's okay. We've just got to figure out how we're going to manage through this rapid change. I think that the speed of this, as you said earlier, will be different than any previous technological revolution. And I think more than any other technology I can point to a historical example for, this technology either has the ability to do the most ever to concentrate wealth and power, which would be really bad, or the most to broadly distribute and enable people to do it. And I think if you look at the trajectory AI is on right now, it's much more valid again. And it's going to be incredible. It's going to lift the world up. It really is something that, like, everyone's just got a new tool in their pocket. and they're doing these amazing things with it. And that is how I think you get real, significant, lasting change. But you can imagine all these worlds with AI where it wouldn't be like that. And it would be this sort of like centralizing force that one company or some small companies get to use.
Let's deal for a moment, Sam, with crazy thoughts, like stuff that keeps you up at night. Like some mad scientist someday or some dictator someday on a place who decides, I don't know, people aren't useful. I mean, you have a bone, you have an ethical bone, you care about people. And that's why I'm leaning in. What concerns you?
You know, the greatest sci-fi stories that I've ever read certainly were, or watched or whatever. The really compelling ones, the ones that really, you know, with the mind virus that got in my brain, were the AI's going rogue. You know, like that sticks. There's something about that really resonates with us. I don't know, like how many articles, when OpenAI first started, every article about us used the same Terminator photo. Because that was the only way to think about what AI was. If you ask people then about AI, they would say, oh yeah, it's like, it's gonna drive my car someday. Or like, oh yeah, that's like the robots are gonna like, you know, fight us all. I've seen that movie. And that was really the way people thought about AI. And that was on my mind, and a lot of our minds. And it's like, it is very scary to think about this thing that is going to improve at an exponential rate. And we didn't, at the time, know exactly as we were going to go. We didn't come up with the idea for what we call language models now, the thing that underlies Chat Gpt, until maybe 2018 was the first version. We didn't really believe in it until longer than that. Originally, we were kind of doing what other people in the field were doing and what we thought we were supposed to work on. So we had a project with robots. That's a little scary. And we were working on like agents that could play video games with the thinking that as they got smarter and smarter, they could, you know, work in more complex environments. And also, now we look back at that and think like, oh, it's a scary idea. You know, we were sort of like young and naive at the time, but all of those thoughts about the ways this can go wrong you don't need much imagination because we've grown up with that in the media, and it is such a compelling story. So when we started OpenAI, we worried about that a lot, and we still do. I mean, I think if the technology goes wrong, it could be quite scary, which is why we work so hard on safety. But we also believe that you cannot build this safely in a vacuum. If you just build this in a lab and we don't have contact with reality, the system will have all of these problems and bugs. There will be biases in there that we don't understand, and we'll work in these ways we didn't, and it won't serve what people want. So we believe that you gotta deploy. You gotta put it, you make it as good as you think you can, and then you gotta like put it in front of people and say, does this help you? Is this good? Do you like it? Tell us what's broken. Tell us where it's not meeting your needs. Tell us where it's really screwing up badly. And that tight feedback loop, I think, is the only way I know how to develop let technology and society co-evolve together and really listen to what people actually want. One thing we say a lot is that the people that are going to be most affected by technology deserve the biggest voice in what it's going to do. And if you don't put it out in the world, if you don't let people use it, if you don't show it to people and say, hey, give us feedback, you just can't do that. So one of our big worries was that the technology would be developed in secret, in a lab, and then all of a sudden be this super powerful thing. And that was scary too. Of course, all the robot worries. Now, I guess the two things on the short to medium horizon. One, there's a lot of talk about this, but like people using these systems to create bioweapons, which hopefully people just won't do, but I do think the systems will be capable of. And another is, these will be incredible at hacking into computer systems. Mm-hmm. And what it's going to take us as a society to say, let's enjoy all the benefits, let's let people develop this in all kinds of ways, but let's have some guardrails, like we do for any other powerful technology. That's a hard balance to get right. And then the big one is, I said I think we're on a good trajectory, I still think we are, but whether this is going to be an inclusive or an exclusive technology is still somewhat imbalanced.
And what I can't figure out about you, I know you're smart, like I can't figure out like why you're so decent. I mean, what I mean by that is you can be arrogant and obnoxious and exclusive and be the people in the room and don't talk to anybody else. And it's not like convenient, and I've actually told you some things that were different from what you were thinking. And yet you stuck with it. You stayed engaged. You were curious. I think you cared. Just a quick one on where's this come from? I think you said your Midwest upgrade.
More than that, I mean, I love Midwest. It's incredible. I'm very grateful to be from the Midwest.
It's a small town.
But I think we feel the weight of what we're doing. And I have watched it change people who come in to work on AI in all sorts of ways. And you're like, it's another tech job. Starting for all of us is another job in some degree or other. But you feel the responsibility of it. We feel like we're like living through moving history. And I think that like everybody wants to get that right.
So you want to talk to everyone.
To the degree that we have done things well, and we certainly have not done everything well, but we really try to listen to as broad a base of stakeholders as we can. And again, we don't make everybody happy all the time. We don't always make the right product or the right research or the right policy decisions. But one thing that we try to do differently than what other AI companies have done, what other tech companies have done, is we really try to get out in the world. And that makes the whole company. And I think it's like a lot of people can come up with Chat Gpt the way it is.
So, a couple closing questions. You guys enjoy this? Notes. Sam's got no notes. I've got no notes. I mean, he's transparent. Like what you see is what you get, which makes me want to trust him even more. And all of our conversations are just like this. He's just talking. He may not say what you want, but what he's saying, you can bank on. And I'm also, I have a follow-up comment, a question. Why did you call me late that night? You didn't have to. Why did you call me? And what did that meeting at Quarter mean to you?
Yeah. Well, we had wanted to do something for a while, but even before we launched Chat Gpt, we talked about doing something. I showed it to John, as he mentioned, when he came to the office. And then almost exactly a year ago, a year and 10 days, I guess, we launched Chat Gpt to the world. And we thought it was not going to be a big deal. We thought it would be a medium deal. We're like, people don't like this thing, it's cool.
Medium deal.
But we then jumped into this tornado that has not stopped. And everybody's life at the company, the way I say it is we had to go through what most companies get to do over 5 or 10 years, most tech companies, in a 6-month period. And that was really hard. And obviously led to all sorts of crazy stuff. But that was very fun, very blessed to do it, but very painful process. And so all these things I wanted to do were just getting out of hours in the day, days in the year, call it. So you had said, well, I don't need a lot of notice. Sometime I'm going to be on the East Coast and have a free half day or whatever. Come do this.
I'm getting a little bit more notice.
And then you had said one other thing, which is I was about to go do this tour around the world. And you were like, do whatever you want, I'm good with you, but I really think you should spend more time in America before you go around the rest of the world. That really hit me. So I wanted to arrange a few stops in America before doing this things like a 22-country world tour. You were my first call, a couple hours after. And those were super meaningful. I actually just before this I met today with 4 people that I met at that conference with you. Lovely. But we tried to, as always, we just tried to listen to the feedback and figure out how big the future versions. I think over the next year, I think these systems are going to start to get significantly more capable, which will be great in a lot of ways, but it also makes the stake higher. And so the time that we've gotten to sort of get the feedback from people, from leaders, from institutions, from communities about how to develop this, that's been super important.
I've been humored by reading about you in the newspaper, and radio. People think they know you. I'm like, that's not Sam. That's not Sam. That's really not Sam. And he was making stuff up.
That's strange.
Making stuff up. And I tried to cut you, we talked, And then all hell broke loose the next day, and it was me, Brian Betts, and Kevin Boucher on the phone with you. It was a very straight conversation, and we had some bold drinks together. And I left that conversation very enthused. And then when all hell broke loose, I did what I do with my friends. I cut them a break, cut them some space. I sent you a couple texts, whatever. And I just waited for the cancel. It never came. Like, nothing changed. Everything that we agreed to, you're like, yep, let me get through with this. I got like 9,000 text messages. But why? I mean, what is it just simply that you made a commitment?
Well, I like doing stuff. I mean, yeah, I do believe in keeping commitments, of course, but also I love doing stuff. It's great to see you. It's great to be here. I really wanted to do this. I wish I were a little less tired and more engaged. I'm sorry it's been a long few weeks, but
Yeah, to say the least.
No, I'm delighted to be here. It's definitely weird, like being in the news and reading these things that just don't seem like real. But I do, in the spirit of having my empathy for the end of the season, I think like people have a lot of anxiety about AI, and I get that, and I feel that too. And they need a person to project it onto, and I'm just gonna unfortunately for a little while, be that person, and that's all right.
We're sort of almost out of time here, and this has been a very special conversation. I've been intentionally investigating here because I wanted people to see what I see. I wanted to pull at you and poke at you and take, there you go, see this smile? I wanted people to see him as a human being. He has feelings, he has emotions, stop picking on him. He's one person. He's trying the very best he can. And I tell people who want to criticize him, I tell the same thing about people who want to criticize me. I like what I'm doing much better than what you're not doing. He's trying, he's listening, he's open. He came to the hood, D-A-H-O-D. The hood. And he was like comfortable. He was cool on the HBC campus. I was trying to get him to say, I'm good, I've been here. So, I've got a couple things to say. Number one, OpenAI has agreed months ago to make the first ever grant to a nonprofit to embed artificial intelligence into a community-based organization. It's a $500,000 grant, 2 operations. They're taking this and making it a force for good. We're going to try to use it to make our coaching and counseling tighter, better, more valuable to our people. But that's not the most important thing. As a result of coming to Atlanta and listening and whatever, we wanted to back them up. So, Dr. Bernice King, led by Ambassador Andrew Young, I don't know where he's here somewhere, Ambassador Andrew Young, Bernice King, Dr. Aileen Gale, President of Spelman, Dr. George Prince, the President of Clark Atlanta University, Stride Masagiwa, who is who's considered the Bill Gates of Africa, who met with Ambassador Young. I'm hoping I'm not missing somebody's name who is off the top of my head, but there'll be other names to follow. But they're joining me as seminar co-chairing the new AI Ethics Council. The leaders and ask the government to help with the right sort of legal framework. That's not our business. We will stay out of that. Let the government do what the government does. But we would like to help with. You can't just sit around and throw rocks. You can't just complain. This is happening, whether you like it or not. It's coming. But what we can do is try to be a force for good. And so we're going to try to provide some ethical, some moral, some framework guidelines, and some hopefully some good counsel along with some tech leaders that you're going to provide to try to be, well, a case for optimism. Thank you very much.